Hallo Leute, so over the years I've been getting a lot of messages similar to these. She's just using this channel to practice her English. I need German. Don't you know how language learning works? This is stupid. I can't learn without immersion. Okay, so the question people are asking here is, why do you never teach in German? And there's usually a few assumptions that come along with this. For example, I don't really appreciate the people that don't have English as their native language, or I don't actually like German, or I just want to practice my English, which, by the way, I don't think that would be that bad of a motive, but the answer to all of these is no. So let's talk about it. So first and foremost, I want to make sure that one thing is clear. I am not at all opposed to the idea of learning through immersion, and being opposed to that would be a really stupid idea as a language teacher and also as a language learner myself, because immersion is the single most important thing in learning a language to a point where you're comfortable and fluent at a really good level. And you can't get there without immersion. And guess what? I've never said anything else. So through that, of course, we get back to the beginning. Why do I not teach in German then? The simple answer to this, that will sound kind of snotty on its own, is because I elect not to. So let me explain why so that it doesn't sound that snotty anymore. DFE is and will for a long time remain incomplete in the sense that it isn't an all-encompassing learning program. Now the question is that even something that I want to get to? Which is a hard question to answer because, of course, in the end, yeah, that would be a nice thing to do, but I don't really want to get ahead of myself in that way because that's a huge task for one person, and especially only through YouTube, because if I ever get there, that's going to take me a long time. So until then, I will have to cherry pick topics, and in that sense, just to make sure everybody's clear on this, no, DFE does not provide everything you need to learn German perfectly. Not at all. Like, if this is your only source learning German, bad news, it's not going to work. And that's also something I never shied away from saying, by the way, because that's not the point. So basically, I realized soon after starting this channel that what I really want to focus on here is detailed grammar explanations that are accessible both to people that are interested in getting a good analytical view of language and those people that feel like they can't quite get behind what teachers keep telling them and aren't getting the full picture. Now, this kind of explanation is not something that will ever click with everybody. I would actually say that the amount of analytical learners that also enjoy learning languages is relatively low compared to other learning types. Many people don't make that much headway through explicit explanations and mostly consider it something that's boring and hard to get through and just, a necessity that they feel they have to endure. But on the other hand, from the responses I get, for many of you, it's also exactly the thing that you were looking for. And it's also something that I was missing throughout all of my language learning through school and also in university. Now, because of that, I want to make that archive I mentioned. I want to make a database basically for people who want detailed and accessible grammar explanations, because it's like a catalog, right? And it's not going to become irrelevant. It's just, this is how the grammar works. So ideally, I would have a catalog of all the important grammar topics in German at some point, and that's what I'm going for. And as far as I know, that's not something that's out there outside of DFE. There isn't any grammar archive that does it the way I do. Grammar is either always kind of glossed over and pushed aside as that thing that your teacher pushed on you and you kind of have to get through, but we're only going to do the bare minimum. Or alternatively, it is exactly that. It's boring, it's dry, it's inaccessible, and it's just right out frustrating. So it's really not surprising that most people just want to get through it and, not worry so much about how much they remember. And because of that, for many people, their linguistic base is really lacking. And, many people come watch my videos and are like, I don't even know how this works in English. And that's, of course, you don't need that to speak a language, right? You don't need to sit there and be like, okay, this is that rule, blah, 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 because in the end, you want to be speaking a language intuitively. And I agree with all of that. But it can be so much more enlightening. It can be such a relief for many people to have the feeling that they are understanding the system behind it. Because yes, learning a language like a child does, which is kind of what currently we all agree on is the best method of learning a language, that is a huge advantage if you can pull that off. But many people keep forgetting that you have another huge advantage as not being a child, and that is you are able to understand, analyze, and apply systems. So basically what I want to do is I want to try to help you access that power that you have as an adult. So now that you know my purpose and intention behind this whole project, maybe it'll be easier for you to appreciate why I decided to do it in English. Because after all, English is our world language. Not saying everybody speaks it, but more people speak it than German. And certainly more people speak it than German among the people that are trying to learn German. Duh. And that's the thing, the point of accessibility that I want to focus on so much is defeated when at least half, if not more, people of the ones watching do not understand what I'm saying in something that's very detailed and very hard to get, and not just, a vlog or something. But what about subtitles? Valid option. For me, there's two problems with that. The first one being that for those that don't understand any German at all, and especially don't understand the grammar terminology yet, it then becomes very much about reading again, which is not bad, but it's an entirely different experience than watching somebody talk and listening to them so that you're able to focus your reading on what's on screen. That's the first thing. The second thing is that adding subtitles takes me 2 or 3 additional hours on top of the already 6 to 8 hours I usually take on producing a whole video. And I just don't have that kind of time. Now, of course, after all of this, you could ask, is this the best method for learning languages? And you know what? No, it isn't. Statistically, it isn't. From everything we know about language learning today, no. Because language learning profits a lot more from usage than just from explicit explanations, and the earlier you get into only using your target language, the better. So the earlier you get away from translating everything, explaining everything in your native language, the better, the faster you'll get there. That's what current data on this says. But you know what? I can't help you with usage. That's just owed to the medium we're in. If we were in a classroom, you could say something to me and I could correct you, give you feedback on it, and we could, have interactions and use German much more. With the way that YouTube works, it not being live, and secondly, it not being individual, I cannot provide content that actually, takes you from wherever you are in your German learning and takes you from there. So my two options really are make explicit content in English or make immersion content in German. And I just happen to choose the former because I feel that's something that really isn't, there isn't much quality content of that around. Am I saying my content is the best? No, but I try to make it as good as I can. So maybe through all of this, you can appreciate where I'm coming from, because a lot of the time I feel like people really just don't get why I don't do this stuff in German. And I don't blame you, because it feels like the intuitive thing to do, right? A German teaching channel. Why aren't you doing it in German? Some of you are very abrasive about this question, but I know that it comes out of a place of, what's the point of this? Why are you doing this in English? So now I hope that maybe that clears that question up. Because to reiterate, my whole thing about accessibility is kind of defeated by making it in German, because through that, I'm locking out a big portion of learners that do not already speak German and just want to repeat explicit rules, which I realize is a big group. And for you, it would definitely be better to watch these videos in German. Totally agree with you. But your group just happens to be smaller than the group that I want to address. And also, you are still able to understand the videos even though they're not ideal for your purposes. However, I do make videos that are good for immersion every now and then, and I have recommended stuff that you can use for it before, and you might be happy to hear that I do see your criticism and I think about it, because I like to do things, reflected. I don't just like to do things because it occurs to me. So I will try to consider, making more videos in German if they're only talk or just trivia, but this isn't a promise. It's just saying I'll consider it more, because I do see that, especially when it's not about these explicit topics, why not in German? Why not with subtitles? I agree with you there. So, we'll see. But in the end, what you have to understand is that this is an English-speaking channel that teaches German. Not because that's the best way to do it, but because that's what I elected it to be. And in the end, that's the ultimate reason why it is.